My name is Dustin Donahue. Today I'm going to be giving an informative speech on tattoos. The name Tom Leppard may not mean much to the average American, but he is actually a celebrity to many fanatics around the world. Tom didn't play a major role in a movie or write the great American novel. He isn't a political leader or pro athlete. Actually, Tom Leppard is famous because his body is 99.9% covered in tattoos. Tom Leppard has spent thousands of dollars to have his body tattooed to honor the animal that shares his name. Tom Leppard's entire body is covered with tattooed leopard spots. Actually, one of the only parts of Tom's body that's not covered is the inside of his ears and the skin between his toes. Tattoos became a major part of our society. The history of tattoos, the way they are created, and the different reasons people get tattoos are all part of the cult icon that is the tattoo. Let's start by going back to discuss the history of the tattoo. The history of tattoos began over 5,000 years ago, as it is diverse as the people who wear them. The very first tattoos seem to start as an accident. Tattoo started because someone had a small wound on his hand, and then he rubbed it, which was dirty with soot and ashes from a fire. Once the wound healed, they saw that the mark stayed perfectly. Despite the growing fascination with tattooing and the immense popularity of tattoos themselves, the practice has not left much of a historical record. Otzi the Iceman was found in 1991. He had been frozen since the Bronze Age over 5,000 years ago. He made headlines all over the world when his frozen body was discovered on a mountain between Austria and Italy. He is the best preserved corpse from that period of time that's ever been found. Once Otzi was examined, they found that he had over 57 tattoos all over his body. He had a cross on the inside left knee. He had 6 straight lines above the kidneys that were 15 centimeters long and numerous parallel lines on the ankles. The positioning of the tattoo marks suggests that they were probably applied for therapeutic reasons, possibly the treatment of arthritis. They have also been records of tattoos in ancient Egypt. Written records, physical remains, and works of art relevant to Egyptian tattoos have virtually been ignored by the earlier researchers who were influenced by the prevalent social attitudes toward the medium. Today, however, researchers know that there have been bodies recovered dating to as early as the 4th dynasty exhibiting the form of tattoo. In 1891, archaeologists discovered the mummified remains of Amunet, a priestess of the goddess Hathor who lived sometime between 2160 BC and 1994 BC. This female mummy displayed several lines and dots tattooed all over her body. The dots and dashes were lined into abstract geometric patterns. The art form of tattooing in Egypt was restricted to women only, and usually these women were associated with ritualistic practices. The Egyptians spread the practice of tattooing throughout the world. The pyramid-building 3rd and 4th dynasties of Egypt developed international relations with the nations of Greece, Crete, Persia, and Arabia. By 2000 BC, the art of tattooing had stretched all the way out to Southeast Asia. Western Asian nomads then brought it with them to Japan. The earliest evidence of tattooing in Japan is found in the form of clay figurines which have faces painted or engraved to represent tattoo marks. The oldest figurines of this kind have been recorded being found in tombs dated back to 3000 BC or older, and many other such figurines have been found in tombs dating from the 2nd and 3rd millennia BC. These figurines served as stand-ins for living individuals who symbolically accompanied the dead on their journey into the unknown. It was believed that the tattoo marks had religious or magical significance. The first written record of Japanese tattooing is found in a Chinese dynasty history compiled in 297 AD. The Japanese were interested in the art mostly for its decorative attributes and opposed to magical symbols. Japanese tattoo artists were the undisputed masters of tattoo art. Their use of color, perspective, and imaginative design gave the practice a whole new angle. The classic Japanese tattoo is a full body suit. Tattoos also became a lifestyle on the other side of the hemisphere. In Peru, tattoo Incan mummies dating back to the 11th century have been found. Spanish accounts of Mayan tattooing in Mexico and Central America in the 16th century revealed tattoos to be a sign of courage. When Cortez and his conquistadors arrived on the coast of Mexico in 1519, they were horrified to discover that natives not only worshiped devils in the form of statues and idols, but also somehow managed to imprint indelible images of these idols in their skin. The Spaniards, who had never heard of tattooing, recognized it at once the work of Satan. North America, early accounts testify to the widespread practice of tattooing among Native Americans. Among the Chickasaw, outstanding warriors were recognized by their tattoos. In the Iroquois tribe, elaborate tattoos reflect high status of the Northwest American. Inuit women's chins were also tattooed to indicate their marital status and the group's identity. In America, the first permanent tattoo shop was in New York City. It was started in 1846 and began its tradition by tattooing military servicemen from both sides of the Civil War. Samuel O'Reilly invented the electric tattooing machine in 1891. He improved this design upon earlier tattoo machines invented by Thomas Edison that did not succeed commercially. Now that we have explored the history of tattoos, let's discuss how modern tattoo are created. The first thing to understand about modern tattoos is how the skin holds the image. The skin is not a single layer; it's composed of several layers, each with a different cell structure. The outermost layer, which is rather thin, is the epidermis. This layer holds everything in and acts as a protective barrier. Below that is the dermis. This thick layer is the meat of the skin and is where the hair is attached to. Below that is the subcutaneous layer, which contains fat cells and is the transfer layer between the skin and the bloodstream. Tattoos are placed in the dermis layer of the skin. The dermis pretty much stays that way for your entire life, so the image is permanently there. The tattoo machine is how tattoo artists can get through the epidermis layer of the skin to leave the design in the dermis. The modern tattoo machine is primarily a motor. It's attached to a tube that contains a bar with a needle arrangement at the end. The motor pushes the needle up and down up to 3,000 punches per minute. Ink runs into the hole from the fountain-like pin tips in the tattoo machine. All of these ink dots that are in your skin make up the picture. When the ink is done being punctured into the skin, the tattoo is essentially done. The ink is now permanently in the cells of the dermis layer of the skin and will stay with the wearer for the rest of his or her life. With the history of tattooing and the modern tattooing methods, there are reasons why people get tattoos in the first place. Often people get tattoos in remembrance of someone special. They may get a symbol or a birth date and a date of death of a loved one. Or they may get a picture of a person's face tattooed on their body somewhere. Often these types of tattoos are accompanied by an inspirational message. Another reason people get tattoos is to commemorate items or things that people like. Many military personnel will get tattoos to commemorate what branch they are in and what specific division they're in. Others will get a cartoon character or a type of animal or flower that they like. Some people get tattoos just for the purpose of fitting in. This bandwagon approach is often found in the younger generations, and finally people may be forced to get tattoos. If someone is being introduced into a gang, they may be forced into getting the gang symbol tattooed on their body somewhere. or people may be forced into getting tattoos in prison to show their honor to a certain gang. To show their honor into a certain gang, so they can fit in or they don't get in trouble with the other prison inmates. From the history of tattoos, the modern techniques, and all of the reasons people get tattoos, we can certainly find that tattoos have become a huge icon in our society. Whether you have one tattoo or completely covered like Tom Leopard, you will forever be reminded of why you chose to be tattooed, as well as it will be forever to live in your dermis of your skin. Thank you.